Hello, welcome to On the Payroll, my podcast about project management, consulting, project delivery, Salesforce, CRM, teamwork leadership, all sorts of things that I find really, really fun. Actually, the podcast is just an opportunity to talk about these sort of things with people that I like. And I record them so that listeners and my readers can find nuggets of information that's interesting and that's valuable to them in their ongoing lives. In today's episode, I talked to Amanda Beard-Neilson, whom I first met when I was working at Make Positive, one of the Salesforce partners in London. Here she talks about her journey in how she became a part of a group of people who have inspired so many Salesforce enthusiasts, especially in the UK. She and her partners run London's Calling, one of the largest events it's an independent event, so not from Salesforce, but Salesforce sponsored, to help anyone within the ecosystem to network and connect and learn and just grow with the community and find a place both as a career and also as a network of people who just have the same passion. And she talks about this and how it's changed her life and how COVID has changed how they have approached this monumental undertaking and needing to pivot from a physical event to an online one. It was really, really interesting. And also I think it was a little bit emotional, and for me as well, because just listening to her, she is a great storyteller. She's great at talking and speaking, and I think she's missed the calling as a radio TV presenter. Anyway, I enjoyed it immensely, and I really hope that you do too. So I invite you to listen in on our conversation, and I hope you enjoy. Hi, Amanda. I am so pleased to have you on my podcast. It's called On the Payroll. How are you today?
Hey, Pay. Thanks very much. I'm good, thank you. I'm cold today. If we sneakily give away, we're recording this in June, and normally we should be complaining about how hot it is. And here I am with layers on, and I've even got woolen socks on. It's that cold. I mean, really, what's going on with the weather?
Absolutely. We're in England and it's climate change and all that sort of thing. So thank you. I've been really looking forward to this for a while. We we worked together in the same company, and we have not had the opportunity to actually sit down and talk and get to know each other. Isn't that crazy?
I know. So how our worlds just meet, well, kind of collide and pass around, and busy people just, that happens. Yeah. So I'm glad we're doing it today.
Correct.
Recorded, of course.
Indeed. Thank you very much for agreeing to this. What I'd like to know, I'm quite interested in your journey. There's specific bits that I'm going to stop you and maybe ask you to flesh out. But what I think interests me the most is how people land in the Salesforce ecosystem and the journey that they've had. So if you can share with me your story.
Sure. I'm going to go really way back because I think it also helps people to get into the idea of how they get into this ecosystem, because as a kid, I wasn't smart. As a kid, my dad thought that my best opportunity for a career would be a secretary, because when you'll get this, when they used to go to parents' evenings and they go, how is she? Is she all right? Is she just a bit stupid? What's the deal? Thanks, Dad. They would turn around and go, oh no, she's a lovely girl. She likes to chat. Here we are. And so he just went, oh, well, she's not very bright. Okay, well, maybe she could be a secretary, because me, back then, that's what we got as options. So wind forward, and I got GCSEs, and so I got into A-levels, and I did A-levels, so I did a degree. But this was never a career path for me, even with education. It was just I've got that. Oh, well, I'll try the next bit then. I was the first person in my family to get a degree, so the education side was never there. My dad was an apprentice, my mum went to secretarial college, so where your background is, how it shapes you in the future, they're there. Hence why I'm just going to be a secretary. So I went to Bordeaux as part of my degree. And actually, if you see half a picture, I'm just going to raise my laptop up. The laptop is now stuck to my screen. There we go. There we are. If you see that pink picture there, it says mot de tête, which is basically voices. That I stole that from a lamppost. It's a theatre poster, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. I literally nicked it and took it home and put it on my wall. I also got another one, which was back in the days when Renault Clio first came out, and it was this massive poster, 6 foot high, and it had a naked man in it. And I also nicked that one and put it on my wall. That was much more exciting than that one. Anyway, I did actually throw that one away a few years ago. God, I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, digress. Moving forward, went to university, lived in Bordeaux for a year. Bordeaux, wine, okay, got that feeling as well. If you know me, then you know about wine, okay. So it started very young. When I left university, I got into the idea of wine. I had this vision that I would be driving around, I'd be a wine buyer, and I would pop into vineyards and taste a bit of wine and go, that's lovely, put some in the back of the boot, brilliant, move on to the next one. That transpired actually into getting a job in wines and spirits company. So the largest wines and spirits company, I became a rep for the area. So yeah, I got a company car and I went to drive around all these pubs and bars and restaurants and nightclubs and had a free social life for 3 years that I was doing it. So I didn't become a secretary. I became a nightclub girl, promoting really large wines and spirits brands to really get their whole visibility and to go into pubs and places where I would just walk in and take over the space, irrespective of what was going on, and give them out some point of sale, some posters and key rings, and do the best I could. That then, I went into account management, I went into hair care. My father was gutted. What the hell are you doing leaving Jack Daniels to go into hair care? I can't drink this. And moved on. Got to a point, so it was like a sales, marketing and PR background, even did a stint in PR as well. Got to a point when I just turned around and went, do you know what? I'm kind of done with sales because the targets forever move. And I do a target because I want to get it done and then I want to get rid of it. Instead, they see it and go, oh, it's great. You really nailed that target. Yes, I did. Here's some more. No, don't want that. So I decided to move away. And I got a job as a business development coordinator for a company where I helped to build the sales team up. I helped to build their processes, did all their procurement side of things. And the director at the time turned around and said to me, we don't know who our customers are. We need a CRM. And I'm like, quickly, go and Google what on earth that means. Oh, okay. Here are some options. Had a little think about what those were and saw this system called Salesforce. And I was like, oh, okay, this, I get this. I'm not an IT person. I came from a sales background. I came from PR and marketing. I came from standing up and promoting Jack Daniels, for heaven's sake. I did not play with systems, but I was reasonably sane. I was reasonably organized. So when I looked at Salesforce, first of all, and back then it was a simple deck. It was 2007. And I said, you know what, I get this. You know, I don't lose myself. I can click on the home button. I can click on the opportunities. I can find things. And back then it was also colorful as well. We had little dancing man for the lead. Great. And I thought, well, if I get it, other people will get it. So let's get it. And so I helped with the implementation with that. I became the admin as well, went on the admin course. This is before certs were really a thing as well, again, back in 2007. And from then actually moved into IT and I built other systems. I built asset management system, ran all the IT procurement for it. So 1 minute I am trying to sell procurement options and sign up things. And next minute I am being the buyer for the business for all of the IT, which was great fun, and managing all the assets as well. And then I went into I decided to leave there because they wanted me to look after all of the procurement. I just went, no, there's nothing exciting about buying toilet roll. Sorry, just not my bag. And I do it at home, don't need to do it at work. So went on and went into contracting. I've got my first gig, which was working for a company who was moving their code from one type of code to another type of code, trying to take all their customers with them. And I got the gig because in my first interview, it turned into a consultancy role because they turned around and said, oh yes, for this project, we're going to be using this tool called Salesforce. I'm like, oh yeah, I know Salesforce. Oh really? And they went, but can we do this? And can we do this? And can we do this? I went, yeah, you can do all that stuff. I went, oh great. The project turned out to be incredibly dull. However, it was saved because I was actually helping their own admin with little jobs. Like, can you test this for me? Can you run a report for me? Yeah, sure, I can do this stuff. And so it kept my hand in. I then went into a different contract, and it was different types of IT. Again, it wasn't Salesforce directly. But then in 2012, when that project came to a finish, I decided to sort of sit myself down and have a really good think about things, and just went, look, what do I want to do next? I've bounced around. I've done sales, background, marketing, PR, done a bit of IT. Where do I move forward? And I took some advice in my head from actually the director, who said about, we need a CRM, and said, you need to start specializing in something. And I went, okay, that thought, what do I do? And every time I thought about Salesforce, I smiled, which is really sad. Because, you know, to sit there and start smiling over a piece of tech and just going, oh, I really like it. Oh, God. And I just went, okay, look, that's what I'm going to get serious about. How I get in about it, don't really know. I wasn't that hands-on at the beginning. I'm more into now project management and analyst side of things. I kind of like the human interaction when it comes to projects. Maybe that's how I lean. And so I put myself back on an admin course again, because Trailhead didn't exist back then. This is 2012. Trailhead came out, 2014, 2015. So I spent £3,000 of my own cash, went on a training course to learn admin, to pass the course, which gave me the confidence to go, well, you know, I'm certified, and then go blag myself a job. And I got a job with a boutique consultancy. And that's how I started my journey. And I kind of started learning about being a project manager, delivering Salesforce in that role. And that's how it began.
Wow. Sorry,
From being a potential secretary to being a project manager. There you go.
I know, that is such an incredible journey. And what I really like, apart from your incredibly engaging way of telling the story, is that it is one where anyone can get into it. Yeah. And you don't. So the latest thing on LinkedIn, I think, is that a lot of people are, there's a lot of, what's the word? Kickback. No, that's not what I'm thinking about. Lots of unhappiness about the adverts that are posted that says you need 8 years experience, you need a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, you need to learn computing, you need this degree, and that, and that's not quite true, is it?
I mean, I've got a business degree, so that's kind of one of the accepted degrees. If it's not computing, then if you've got business, that's okay. So, okay. But I've hired people without any degrees. In fact, I would always go much more about experience and attitude more than the fact that they've got a particular certificate of some sort. I think I also was lucky. Back then in 2007, when I discovered Salesforce, and again in 12, Salesforce as a marketplace within the UK wasn't massive compared to how it is now. Now we're desperately looking for people with talent who can come into the marketplace and work for it. So there was an element of right place, right time, right attitude, let's go for it, and to try and fail and try again, and, you know, pick yourself up and keep going. So I do feel for people, and I got my first stab at it because I selected Salesforce. Let's face it, I didn't know what it was going to turn into. You know, I didn't realize the journey that it would take me on. But I was lucky enough to choose it and to install it and become then the admin, which gave me that background. And I've always say to people when they're looking for experience, when they are trying to do that transition effectively, is if it's in your business, try and get closer to it somehow. Become a super user if necessary. Start if you can running reports, or you can get a delegated admin access to do something, whether it's uploading data or something like that. Get a little bit more hands-on, get that trust, and see if you can do that. And then you can learn things, and then you get experience. Or you spin up your own dev org and build your own scenarios as well. There's ways of doing it.
So I mentioned earlier on that this conversation would follow my curiosity, and it's right now it's pinging in quite a few different directions, and I'll bring the conversation back to your journey in a minute. But one of the things that you do is you are also one of the organizers for London's Calling, and you meet a huge number of people who are in the ecosystem. So I'm just going to segue slightly, because we are talking about people who are looking to get a foot in the ecosystem. And given that Salesforce has this target of creating 4.2 million jobs in the next 4 years,
something like that. It's a
something
big,
like that. It's a big number. And I can see such a big push. I can see the Salesforce Talent Alliance being formed to encourage partners and companies to give opportunities to those who are just pivoting from a different industry or career. What would your advice be to people who discover Trailhead? Oh my God, I can now learn about the product. I was a yoga teacher, but now I know everything about Sales Cloud because I did the Trailhead. I did the certification. I passed it. I'm finding it difficult to get a job. Do you have any thoughts or words of wisdom for this group?
Yeah, it's a tough one, unfortunately, because I think Salesforce is a brilliant tool. I think what they've done with Trailhead is amazing. The amount of information they are supplying in order to help people with that, but it's only part of the story. So as I alluded to earlier on, when I look to hire people, it's not so much their certifications I'm looking at. It's very much an attitude and past experience as well. And that's the hardest part. For your example, the yoga teacher, how did the yoga teacher go and get that experience? Well, they need to start translating what they've been learning in Trailhead into something a little bit more tangible, because Trailhead, I think, can go only so far. What Trailhead doesn't always show, except for maybe super badges get a little bit closer to this, is that Trailhead shows a happy path of creating something. What they don't show is why are you doing that in the first place? Is this actually the correct way of doing it? And what happens when it goes wrong? And you only get that sort of information when you're working on a project directly, or you get a proper scenario. And this proper scenario could be something that's surrounded in your own life of going, well, I'm going to decorate the room. Okay, how do I do that? Well, maybe then you can look at creating a custom object and the fields to manage that process, for example. Or you get involved with charities. Sometimes charities are looking for people to volunteer, but charities also want good quality people to volunteer because they have limited resources as well. They don't want just anybody rocking off the street going, yeah, I've heard of this Salesforce, I've done a couple of badges, no problem, I can take over your org. They need someone who's actually going to have good responsibility. You're handing over potentially data and resources, so be conscious of that. So it's a tough one. Salesforce isn't just about the functionality, it's an awful lot about the attitude and the processes, huge amount of process behind the scenes of how you actually build this thing and why you should build this thing and how you deliver it and how you set a customer up for success so that you don't just build it and turn around and then there's just going in a puzzle, no good. So yeah, I can't give you a winning solution, I'm afraid. Try and get the experience, it's most important.
Okay, thank you for that. So now I'm going to go back into your journey, and I know I find it's quite interesting how you have gone from, oh, I like Salesforce, let's specialize there, right up to where you are now, one of the founders and organizers of one of the largest independent Salesforce event in the UK. Can I say the EU?
Yeah, no, well, you could, because it's still in Europe. In Europe can't say EU anymore because
yes, that's right.
Yeah, but in Europe, I still think we can be the largest. Yes, I'm not technically a founder. I did get involved very early on, sort of behind the scenes, but I wasn't one of the founder members. But got involved very early on, helping behind the scenes, and now in the past 3 or so years, officially an organizer as well.
I'd like to hear the story of how you got involved and what that means to you.
Cool, yeah. So London's Calling is the conference that we're talking about, is the largest, I think we still say, of Europe, Salesforce community conferences. Community conferences are created by the community for the community, and with Salesforce sort of guidance and support in the background, but very much our events to help and shape and deliver. It has 2021 was our 6th year. We did it completely virtually. 2020 was a bit of a hybrid, and all the previous ones were properly in person. So it was, let me just do finger maths here, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 2016, when, or maybe back in 2015, late 2015, when Francis came to an admin group, which is also one of the co-leaders for, and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this conference event. Would anyone be interested in one, like turning up and two, maybe being a speaker? And I was like, ooh, maybe I'll give it a go of speaking. Because I was just a member of the admin community at that point. I wasn't a leader, but I was quite gobby. And so I just thought, you know what, I could put myself forward for this. Having stood in front of thousands of people with a microphone in a nightclub, you can handle a few hundred people if necessary in a room, so not a problem. So easy. So I thought I'll put myself together. I'll put myself forward to be a presenter on that. And Julie did put together a talk, an abstract, and was accepted. And for the first year, which was 2016, of London's Calling, delivered basically how to manage projects. And I can't even remember the title now, it's so long ago, but I've done it a few times over. But it was basically about project management. And apparently I was the most engaging speaker. So I got top speaker for the first one for London's Calling. So that was nice. And I've spoken at every year. And especially we kind of, there's 4 people who have spoken at every year, except for 2020, when we all kind of like stepped back. And it's myself, my co-organizer as well, Louise Lockie. There's Peter Chittum, who's part of Salesforce, and there's also Paul Batterson, who is part of Cloud Galacticus. There's 4 of us who have managed every single year. And so that's quite a nice little club to be part of, to always be speaking. And I'm going to lose my voice. I'm going to take some water very quickly.
I am very impressed by how it's grown and the kind of passion that it is ignited when I attended the event. Tell me about what that means to you, because I know it does in the past conversations that we've had. It's a big part of who you are and what's made you the person you are today. What do you get out of it?
Massive. I might cry at this point. God, when you're a menopausal woman, your hormones go everywhere, and just your emotions just like, oh my God. So yeah, it does mean a lot for me, actually. It look, I don't know if you can see glassy eyes already. The community is massively important to me. I went through quite a tough time, and I was ill, very ill, affected my work really, really harshly, and made me sort of really consider what I wanted to do and whether I should just step away from the whole Salesforce ecosystem, because I just thought, I'm not doing this very well. I don't think I'm being a success here, and I should step away. And it was because of the community that I stayed in it, and it was more importantly the London admins that made me very much a part of it. And I thought, you know what, I'm not leaving this, and that was very important. So when London admins asked me to become a co-leader, that was really lovely and rewarding. And I just went, you know what, they've given me so much. They were my therapists. They were my free therapists. And so when it came to the point of London's Calling, it was a no-brainer. It was like, yes, I'm absolutely going to do this as well. And I want to share, and I want to give back. And yeah, that's very important. And it really is still to me as well. And I'm going to cry. Oh, yeah, it really is important to me. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to carry on trying to make you cry.
Ow.
because I found it, I attended 2019. I was looking forward to 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020. And I was watching, I think, as well as everyone who had a ticket who was so looking forward to it, was watching because COVID came. And we were wondering, is it going to go on? What's going to happen? How are you guys coping? What's happening? And so I can just imagine what's happening behind the scenes. So I'd like you to just share with us your thought, all of you, and how you've experienced all of that right up till the D-Day, basically. Can you just share?
Sure. I mean, so we were planning London's Calling 2020, and we kicked that off sort of like the August beforehand. For that year, we decided, we're a growing event. We've kind of grown out of our our previous location, we're going to go to the brewery, and it's going to be great, and we can really grow into this space. It's going to be exciting. So we kicked off going, look, venue, and everyone was excited about that. We got our sponsors on board, we got our speakers on board, and then started the noises about this flu that was getting a bit tricky, and it was around about January, February time when it was actually some of our speakers and our sponsors going, look, we are in the US, our business turned around and said, we're not allowed to travel anymore. I don't think we should be able to travel. I don't think we can come. What's going to happen? And we're like, ooh, okay. Meanwhile, in the UK was completely open for business. In fact, I remember very vividly on the 13th of March, Boris turning around and going, if you're over 70s, please don't go on cruises anymore. And we're just sitting there going, God, is this the best advice we've got coming from us, from the government? We were getting information from really big global integrators going, this is what we're doing with our people. We're not letting them travel. This thing's looking very, very risky. We should be taking much more security things. So we were taking more advice from these businesses than we were our own government. And we were having to make decisions of, well, what happens? What if we have to lock down? What if people can't travel? What do we do? How do we turn this around? And within the last few weeks before the event, these are conversations we were having very, very regularly of going, I don't know how safe this is now. And I don't know if we can do this. We even sent out to all of our attendees and our sponsors are you going to turn up? Are you happy, safe to travel? And people were like, yeah, but I'm not sure. And we just went, okay, we have to make a grown-up decision here. We have to call it. And literally a week before, we made the decision to say, if you are a sponsor or a speaker, you are invited to come to our venue. We will turn our venue into a TV studio. But for all of our attendees, please stay at home. I don't think it's safe now for you to be in this environment. And so we made the call. And then we asked all of our sponsors and speakers to record content if they couldn't make it. And so that's what we did. Unfortunately, Louise had the capacity to sit there on Zoom like we're doing here and just record all the content as much as we could to then layer it up almost like a TV schedule so that we could run the VTs at the right time, at the right point, in the right room, almost all the time, and go with that. We then, for the day before, we got access to the venue, which was really, really sweet of them because, let's face it, all their events were just suddenly being cancelled left, right and centre. And we're standing around going, no, we're coming. We've paid, we're coming. And we're going to do something about it. But all that bit of furniture we asked for, all these stands we asked for, all the booths we've asked for, yeah, we're not going to need that. No, get rid of that. We'll have a couple of TV screens. And for the food catering, oh my God, catering. We had to make a decision on catering before we made a decision on what we were going to do. So I then had to shrink down the numbers. We had lots of food eventually, but we gave it out to everybody that came, including the staff there and the crew. Please eat the food, please eat the food. And very, very fortunately, they had a deal with the event. The venue had a deal with a homeless charity where any food that was not used got moved over. So nothing got wasted, which was great because, my God, the brownies were absolutely killer. They were amazing. Anyway, so the venue really looked after us. And they really appreciated the fact that we turned up. And we ran around the building delivering content with our speakers who turned up with like one or two people in the room as support going, yay, trying to fill a massive room off meant to be for hundreds going, yay. But it was lovely and it was exhausting and it was crazy. And there I'm doing piece to camera to like here going, hello watchers, lovely to see you, kind of, and then filling gaps between the different talks of random things, usually with a photo booth prop with a hat on or in the photo booth, or getting some of the other speakers to chat about stuff or throw them into a photo booth as well. We hadn't quite got social distancing quite right at that point. But yeah, it was incredibly rewarding, very emotional. At the end of it, after we kicked off the keynote, which thankfully we recorded because the signal wasn't there, so we had a recording just in case. And we sat down to watch the keynote with a bottle of bubbly and just sat there and just went, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I don't think any of it went in because I was just battered. And then we wrapped up the session going, thank you so much, and speaking to an audience of a few and camera audience of many, and cried, actually, at the end of it, cried. We were exhausted and just thought, wow, we've done this. And what was really strange, I'm going off again. What was really strange was that was the night that the pubs closed. So everything closed then. And Monday, the following Monday, we went into our first lockdown. We were that close to potential failure and not being able to even pull off what we did. It was a real risk, but we made it. And we did actually have a band, which we cancelled, but then half an hour later rang up, went, we paid for you, so why don't you turn up? It'll be the weirdest gig of your life, because there'll be literally like a handful of people there, and just come and play one of your sets, because I think we don't know when you're going to play again, so why don't you do it? But yeah, okay, we'll do it. And they were brilliant. In fact, they are like the London's Calling House Band. I definitely want to bring them back and to play, because they were awesome. And I did dance. I was there dancing with Louise, like over there, trying to fill up the space, dancing, making a lot of big shapes. And and we had a bar and a party for some, very exclusive few people that turned up to an after show party. But yeah, really, really glad we did it, because wow, what were we in for?
Absolutely. No, I was just thinking you pulled off such an amazing event, and I was obviously watching it from home. And I think I mentioned to you, I think you have missed your calling to be on television. I thought it was amazing. I don't know if I could have done it. I had a question. So your narrative about what's happened, it's, gosh, to be there. But at any point did you think we're going to totally have to call this off?
We looked at our options, and as a team sat down and just went, what were our options? One, we could cancel it, and all the other events were cancelling. They were just looking at stuff and going, I don't think we can do it. Let's just cancel. Or postpone was the first thought, because originally we just thought, well, this is going to be for a couple of months. It will fizzle out, and end of flu season, and then we'll be back. And we'll just postpone it till summer. And we just went, if we do that, we will be in competition with everybody else trying to do their events. So we already had a brilliant tech team who could flip it, and they were already talking behind the scenes about how this London's Calling TV format was already there, available to us, because we used to stream our content anyway for certain rooms. And we just had to expand it, that was all. So it was already there. We already had a tech team in place who could do it. It just suddenly went from being a background to the main focus of the delivering of the event. So for us to flip, it wasn't so difficult compared to maybe other events who didn't have that infrastructure in place. So we were lucky. So at all points during the journey, it was, we will always deliver. We will deliver something. It may not be fully everybody in venue. We may not use the venue, that's another thing, but we will deliver somehow. And we thought, well, do we do it from our homes? Because do we need the venue? Should we just cancel it? And we just went, do you know what? No, we'll go to the venue, because it's a great looking venue, and we will deliver it somehow there. And then of course, two of the team went, well, actually one, I'm quite vulnerable. I don't think I should be around other people. And then the other one went, I've got a cough. And went, oh no, is this COVID? I better stay away. Went, okay, fine. So only 3 out of the 5 core team made it to the venue for the day, but we were always going to deliver something.
Wow, that's it still blows my mind how you guys pulled it off, because I was there on the other side just thinking what's going to happen, etc. I think you were the only event that happened that year, I think.
Yeah, I think there was one that happened in maybe January, February, we were able to do it. But anything from mid-February onwards just went, no, not going to do it.
Okay. So how has that informed? So this year was all virtual, for obvious reasons. What do you think next year is going to be like? What you're planning?
Ooh, we are close to announcing as well. So because we're that close to announcing, I don't think I should say.
That's absolutely fine. I will wait, and like everyone else, I'm looking forward to hearing the announcement. Okay, so let's bring the conversation back to your current journey. So I know you've worked with end customers. You've worked with boutique consulting companies, and right now you're with a GSI. What are your thoughts in terms of what mode of working do you like the best? Like which space?
I think it can differ to whatever mindset, attitude you're in at the time. And for me, everything suited for me at that time as well. When I first kicked into going into sort of boutique consultancies, it felt right because it gave me exposure to a lot of projects very, very quickly to gain my experience and to gain my experience of how those projects should be delivered and to, make mistakes in a safe environment. So that was right. Then I got to a point when I was kind of exhausted with that piece, and that was to do with my illness, that I then flipped very consciously back into end user side. So I started end user, went to consultancy, back to end user. And with that end user took a wider role, not just Salesforce, but looking after all the systems. And that was useful to see how other systems connect, and also to kind of get my brain away from originally thinking, oh my God, Salesforce is amazing, you can do everything in Salesforce, to, okay, reality check here. Salesforce is a brilliant tool, don't get me wrong, I think it's an amazing tool, but should be used to do certain things and then integrate with other systems as well to help with that fuller picture. And I think that really helped me get that sort of wider knowledge of IT as well again. So I think that was really, really beneficial. And then went into another end user where it was multiple orgs, and how does that work, a much more DevOps side of things, and global team management as well. So they really helped to expand my knowledge base, my career outlook. And now working for a GSI, which is a global systems integrator, just for those who don't into the jargon, is again expanding it even further, larger projects, different clientele, and different admin processes behind the scenes, because different businesses work in different ways. When you're a small boutique, you can kind of manage stuff on a spreadsheet, no problem. When you work in a large GSI, you're still managing stuff on a spreadsheet. You just have to send it to other people, that's all. It's the same thing. Businesses work on spreadsheets. There's also other systems and stuff like that, but yeah, predominantly the world works on a spreadsheet. Don't tell Salesforce. So, you can learn an awful lot. I think it's your mindset that takes you to whatever you want to achieve in whatever environment it is.
I totally get the send a spreadsheet to someone else to deal with it. That's kind of one of the maybe nice perks about being in a larger consulting partner, that you can get to do that. So in the course of your career, I know that you've done a lot of projects. What are some of those that sticks in your mind as the most memorable project that you can share with us, and what makes it memorable?
I can remember one particular one, which was like a kind of a kickoff, and it was a rescue job, because this particular client had an implementation of Service Cloud in particular, was struggling with it. How it had been done just wasn't quite working for them. And I remember that Salesforce had asked us to go in, have a chat with them, see what they could do, because they don't want to lose them as a potential client. And I remember myself and a BA going in, and we had the floor. We had about 20 people in a room in a horseshoe shape here. And I had a wall behind me, which you could write on, which was great. This is one of these paints that you could just write directly onto it. And over the course of the day that I was with them, I wrote twice over on this board, and it was getting to the point that I was like a mad woman with all this writing behind me. And it got to the point at the end of the day, it's about 4:00 or something, and I'm literally sitting on the floor, because at that point I've now just filled every bit of space on the wall except for like this bit around me. And it's the point when the CEO and the CTO walks in. The CEO, he tells me afterwards, he's like looking in horror, going, "What the hell is she doing sitting on the floor? Oh my God!" And then takes a breath and realizes that they're all listening. They're all kind of eating out of my hand. Everything is fine. Everything's in control here. And everything written down is all sort of the thoughts and things that we've captured. And he went, "Okay, no, it's all fine." And we won that particular project. We completely saved the day when it came to their Service Cloud implementation, did loads more. They became a longer time client. And, it turned into a sort of a good story in the end of it. So, it's those sort of moments you have with clients sometimes of initiation. I remember another time I would kick off a project, and I would use a tool whereby I talk about let's write down post-it notes in real life. Remember that? Wow. And you could write down something and you put it on a wall, a real wall, not a virtual wall. So I'd ask my clients to go, what is it that you're looking for? What does success look like? So write down some notes for me on a post-it note, what's good and what you don't want. So they write that down. And I'd also write down a post-it note as well, put it on the wall. And then we'd go through them afterwards. And then someone would pick up and go, who wrote I want a pony? And I went, that was me. And then they would go and explain about I want a pony. And I went, right, I want you to just have a little think about a pony. I want you to think about the colour, the shape, its name, whatever. And they would all think about this pony. And I go, right, so we've got the pony, good. So everyone had a short, white, dumpy pony with a blue bow. Yeah, got that? Yeah, no. Oh, okay. So, well, you got a brown one. Okay, you got a black stallion. Oh, okay, go you. So when it comes to requirements, what I need from you is to make sure you're on the same page and you all have the same pony. Not to have all different types of points of view. Others will never, ever deliver anything. They're like, oh, okay, I get it. Good, great. At which point, one of the clients turned around to me, do you want a pony? Because our man here, he can tell you a pony. I thought, oh my God, no, I'm in trouble now. Envisaging that getting on a flight with a pony going, anything to declare? No, nothing to declare, just a pony. Just you'll sit quietly, don't worry. So yeah, be careful what you start on conversations because clients will go with it. And I've had feedback from clients post on just random stuff I've said in things about, I used to go on about, we want to try and stick to as much vanilla as possible. So they keep talking with a little bit of raspberry sauce. And they go, you and your vanilla and raspberry sauce. Or a customer, customer example, Mrs. Miggins. I went a bit Blackadder at times. Yeah, Mrs. Miggins was one. Or I always use Bob now as another option. So these random things that come into my mind and I spew them out and people remember them. So this is going to be interesting that people are going to come to me after this podcast and go, you said this? Yeah, I have to live with a lot of stuff.
Excellent stuff. Tell me, what other things, in your opinion and your experience, makes a really, so I've got two questions there. One is a successful team. What makes a really good, high-performing, successful team?
Trust. It's even if you're not that skilled as somebody coming in, if you're a brand new person coming on board to a team and everyone seems to be really, really with it and gelled, the best thing you can do is just say, look, I don't know about this, and can someone help me with that? Because that will build trust. And if the team trusts each other, then they will deliver. And that trust is then built up with having the skills and having the communication and knowing that, having a purpose as well, knowing exactly what is our goal so we can actually deliver that. And then that builds up with the trust, which then actually helps with the performance side of things. So those things are really, really important. And it doesn't come straight away. That's something that builds over time. So when you're actually in a build phase and you're building in sprints, the first sprint, the second sprint sometimes can be a little bit bitey. It's a bit disorganized. But once you get into the rhythm of things where people then know how to work with each other, okay, oh, you need it like this. Okay, yeah, fine. Well, I'll do that. Okay, great. Then I can pick that up. That's good. Or, tell me if you need help. Or I've got help. I've got time. Does anybody need help? It's that sort of level of communication where suddenly they can rely on each other. They know how each other works. That helps.
How would you, so before the pandemic, we would be working most of the time in the same location with the team, maybe broken up. I don't mean broken up, but separately, maybe some with the client and some at the office. So in the brave new world of the pandemic where everyone's virtual, how do you as project manager create the kind of trust in a virtual team? How do you do it?
I've been working with virtual teams though for quite some time. One of my offices, I did have a global team, so I had people in different offices scattered around, and some of them I didn't even meet for months until I managed to get on a flight to go and say hello to them. So you have to start that journey really, really early on, and it's this sort of communication. And unfortunately, it is cameras on because you can see their faces. And for me as a manager, certainly as a proper people manager back then as well, the one-to-ones like we're having here, having videos on and just talk to me about anything and everything, your life stuff. I don't really care about job stuff. Talk to me about your life first. I want to know who you are to build that. And then when it came to team meetings would be super regular as well and always going to happen. And again, even if I had half the team in the same room as me, we'd all sit with our laptops on, with our videos on, and here, so you could see me, I could see the next person all the way around. And it was this concept of remote first, so that people would see each other, and whenever they did their update, they're talking to the camera, it's not talking to me, talk to the camera, talk to those people on the other side. And that's how you build it up. And then start having normal conversations and use other tools such as good old Slack or something where you have fun, you know, have a channel that you're doing work with, have a channel where you're just having fun with, you know, I saw this joke, bang, put it up there, great, share stuff, because it's that water cooler moment that you miss when you're not physically in an office with someone. There's also the element whereby anyone who is global, who is not in the same office environment, suddenly thinks, well, they don't see me, that I don't get the gossip, I don't get to hear the information straight away. You've got to try and eliminate that straight away. You've got to get away the idea of this whole PowerPoint, whereby the head office is where, or the power is where the opportunities are. No, it's not. You've got to keep the opportunity available to anyone in any location. As long as they shine, as long as they communicate, as long as they are present, you know, and collaborating and contributing, then they're noticed. And I think that's what you need to forever keep mentioning, the fact if somebody did good, to say, you know, well done so and so, hey, they passed the exam, they did this, they delivered that, that's great. And keep those sort of features going. And it's not always the people that are in front of eyes or on, you know, next desk or anything like that. That's how.
Well, thank you very much. That was the fact that you've already done it before helps, I think.
Yeah.
For many businesses and teams, COVID is a cold shower.
Ooh,
I can't
massive
do
wake up call.
Exactly. The way that you have been running your remote teams in the past help you ease into this, and I think a lot of people will find what you just shared there very, very useful, because I think many are still struggling right now and not quite sure. I was just speaking to an ex-colleague who's now a contractor, and she joined a company where nobody have their videos on, and she's been there 6 months and she does not know how any of them look like. And I'm thinking, how do you build trust then? That feels like you're hamstringing yourself, basically.
Definitely. I think it's really important. People are conscious about their home environments. You know, some people don't have setups whereby you're comfortable to share backgrounds or anything like that. And I totally get it. But if you're building a team, if you can just share very briefly, just for a few minutes, to go, hey, this is me and this is what I look like, it helps so much. Even if it then, for the rest of the conversation, your camera's off and you can like relax a bit if you want to. We're now getting to a point whereby, you know, I'm wearing slippers, I'm wearing tracky pants, I'm wearing a hoodie. You know, this is now our office gear. Gosh, you know, what we're going to do if we actually go to the office again, what we're going to wear, what's acceptable. You know, we've got into a different world now. And I think we have to be aware of that.
Thank you. I know time's going on, but one of the things that I was thinking is that you present so well in so many ways, and you are very self-confident, and you're the successful project manager. Is there any time in your history that you've made mistakes or something that made you, I know you mentioned when you were poorly and you were, can you share maybe a mistake that you've done during a project and how you handled it and how you managed it, or something that went wrong?
Oof.
That
Yeah.
you can talk about?
Yeah, there's stuff that happens. And ironically, it was when I was sick that probably the worst stuff happened, actually. So I got sick. My back broke, but for 6 months I didn't know my back was broken. I was just in an awful lot of pain, and I was given lots of painkillers and anti-inflammatories to work on, but I'd only take half the prescription, because otherwise I probably would have been just in bed and not able to function. So walking around in a lot of pain, couldn't sit, couldn't stand, and it would have a ping pong ball under my bum to try and stop the sciatica nerves going down my leg, until I managed to get the MRI and then get fixed. And the surgery was only the beginning of then the getting fixed, which took another year. And mentally, I was broken, really, really broken, because unfortunately, I put work in front of my getting better. Not helped by the fact that my company didn't help me with that either. And so when you are sick, you are not your best self, you do not deliver well. And when you don't have a company supporting you either, then you don't make right decisions. And I put my projects in front of me. In hindsight, I would never do that again. And even when being managers of teams post that, and if anyone is sick, I make sure that I get them away from the business in the nicest way possible, because I want them to focus on them first. It's incredibly important. I made mistakes when I was a project manager in that particular role at that time, whereby I may not have listened to the customer properly because my brain was so fogged. I probably wanted to do something differently to how customers would want to, and I should have listened to what they were generally saying. And that, that causes effects of how things are delivered, and whether I'm even on the project, for heaven's sake, that it was that bad. So what I took away from that was, you have to look after yourself. We are experiencing now, this past year, this whole thing of like mental awareness, mental health. And I went through that back in, many, many years ago now. And I'm very, very conscious of that. So this COVID time has not been a difficult challenge for me, because I've been through a lot worse with my mental health and physical health in addition to that. So I know it's all temporary. I know what I can deal with. I know what I can work with, and I know to ask for help. So you're going emotionally again. So yeah, it was a really, really tough time. And I also now know about stress, and as a woman, I'm going through a very early menopause. Here comes all the health stuff. I had a hysterectomy 11 years ago, and I was grateful at the time, because hey, I wasn't going to die of cancer. You go through that mental stuff. I then had a broken back. I went through that mental stuff as well. So, but without maybe the real support from health people, from companies, etc., that you might need. So I know that I've in the past have gone through menopausal hormonal issues and mental health stuff with that, not realizing I've been going through it, because I was too young to be going through this stuff. And I'm only just now looking back and going, wow, what a bitch. I was going through all this crazy feelings, because my hormones were just all over the place, but I didn't know that. So mistakes, sure, made tons, absolutely tons. I wish I had better support from a company. I wish I'd had better support from health people at the time. I wish I had the ability to listen to my body when I needed to. So yeah, made lots of mistakes, but still here, and able to progress and learn from them. Really hard lessons have learned. There you go. Bombshell.
Thank you. I can see. I want to be respectful of your time. This has been totally worth it in so many ways, and you have such an amazing, engaging style of telling story. I just brought me along with you everywhere and every step. I'm so grateful to have known you, because you are somebody who's just done so much. And I thank you for sharing your vulnerabilities on camera. You've shared a few moments in various situations that you've had that just shows what a deeply compassionate human being that you are, and how you are now kind of taking lessons that you've learned and you're sharing it, and you are helping the people within the ecosystem in so many ways. I guess, you must be tired of people telling you how much you've helped them, but thank you for sharing your story. And again, those vulnerable moments, I think, are the ones that are most impactful, all around the other good stuff that you've shared anyway. So I acknowledge you for being such an amazing person for so many to look up to, and for all the impact that you're making in the ecosystem. So thank you. And also thank you for sharing your story with me on this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Pei. That's really sweet. And Yeah, it's been a tough journey. I won't hide from that. No, everyone probably looks at people and just go, "Wow, God, they're so successful. How did they manage it?" Well, really badly at times. So, yeah, no story is perfect. No journey is perfect. And I think you've got to figure that out, and you just got to keep going, even if you think your health is, think you're going to die possibly at times. But sometimes you just got to keep going. So, but thank you. It was nice to chat.
I think the lesson that you brought up right towards the end is health matters so much, and for everyone to really focus in, as you say, listen to your body, what it's telling you, and don't put work in front of you. I guess lesson. So thank you very much, Amanda. I really appreciate the time that you've taken today.
Thanks, Peg.